Okay, in the newest episode of Denim and Leather Podcast, we have a drummer and also an actor, uh, a guy who is very known to me because I follow some of his career. Joey Cassata from ZO2, the band, also a Broadway actor and drummer, also a colleague drummer. I'm a drummer also. So thank you for accepting my invitation, man.
How are you, brother? Thanks so much for having me.
I'm great, man. We're just 5 hours now, not 6, but 5 hours because the time changed this weekend in Europe. You know,
Awesome. Yeah, it's 3 o'clock here. So what are you, 8 o'clock there?
it's 8. Yeah, yeah.
Killer.
Okay, man. Wanted to ask you before the book and before everything else. I wanted to ask you about your quick early musical life. How did you start in the music and the first bands you were in?
Sure. So, my love of music, I grew up in New York. I went to see Kiss in Madison Square Garden. I was 5 years old. It was the Dynasty tour. So I got to see the original lineup in that first run of makeup and changed my life. I didn't even know why I was going. My brother was a Kiss fan and went to Madison Square Garden, saw Kiss, the explosions, the sound, the makeup, the superheroes changed my life. That Christmas, I asked for drums for a present, and the rest is history.
That's 79.
1979, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, Dynasty. Yeah, I'm also a huge Kiss fan, so we can talk about it. Uh, you got drums very early, so in the 80s you had some band in the 80s maybe?
Yeah, so I grew up in the 80s. Yeah, obviously I'm still young in the 80s. Tried to form some bands, got some stuff going towards the late 80s. Had some close shots at record deals and stuff, but you got to understand. So, we're talking 89, 90, 91, 92. The music scene is all changing now. So,
Yeah.
I'm in bands like Skid Row type bands and, that melodic heavy metal type stuff that was out at that time with the power ballads and so on and so forth. If you want to call it hair metal, it was hair metal. And grunge was just starting to take over. So, my bands were always getting turned down by record labels saying, we're a little dated, we're a little past the prime. So, it took a long while to get that record deal. I missed that 80s, illustrious 80s record deal with all my bands. And then, I weathered the storm through the 90s, went through some changes, in and out of bands until, I found ZO2, which was my original band. We formed in early 2001, 2002. And then, we formed, we had our own record. We did it independently of record labels. We just said, we're going to put our own record out. Long story short, first album came out. We got the tour opening up for Kiss, the Rock the Nation tour, 2004. I think first unsigned band really ever to get one of those national tours, especially opening with a band to a band like Kiss. It was us, ZO2, Poison, and Kiss. So that kind of launched our musical career.
Wow, that's awesome. That's early 2000s, right?
Yeah, 2004, yep.
The Kiss were still on their no, they were not on the run of the reunion. No.
No, it was the first tour with Tommy and Eric.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, the reunion ended early 2000s, I think. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it was incredible for you. You were like 25 at the time, maybe, right?
Yeah, a little older, again, because I missed that 80s scene. I was a little older, it was still, but we were still the kids. We were the newcomers. Poison was a little older.
Yeah.
Kiss was older than that at the time. So, we were like this hotshot new band coming in, injected some fun blood into that tour. And, we just had a blast. It was our first major tour. We had all been playing independently everywhere, but that was our first real major tour. And from there, it sparked, we did some runs with Sammy Hagar and the Scorpions and Twisted Sister and, all these other bands. We're both rocking the Twisted Sister shirts today. Love it.
Yeah.
So after that, wasn't long after. So all through those years where we were, supporting ourselves in the 90s, early 2000s before we got this tour, ZO2 was really a kids entertainer band too. We would play kids' birthday parties to make ends meet. That's how we paid for the record. That's how we paid to be on tour. We would, our day jobs were kids entertainers.
Yeah.
And From there, we got our TV show called Z-Rock. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but Z-Rock was a big, big hit TV show. D himself was on a couple episodes.
I remember something. Yeah.
Yep, it was about our band. It was a scripted comedy, but it was based on our real lives.
Yeah. I remember some of it. Yeah. It was like a kids show, right?
No, I mean it was based. It was us
like a teenage show, right?
Yeah, it was a TV show, but it wasn't a kid show. It was an R-rated show. There was nudity. There was bad language. There was a lot of chaos going on. We had guest stars galore. It was the 3 band members. Then we had Dion a lot, Dave Navarro, John Popper, Joan Rivers was one of the stars, Gilbert Gottfried. We had a plethora of guest stars come on, and it was a scripted comedy, much like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Okay. How did you get to sell that script and to do that thing,
So it happened very organically. Like I said, we were a kids band, like I said. And one night we were playing, or one afternoon, I should say, we were playing a kid's birthday party. And there was a gentleman there that was like, hey, you guys don't look like the Wiggles. You guys don't look like kids entertainers. What are you doing playing this party? Because, we look like rockers. We look like Aerosmith. Yeah. And we were like, well, we're actually a real band as well. You should come and check us out. We're playing in Times Square in New York City tonight. Long story short, the guy comes down, loves the band, can't believe that he just saw us play for these little, 3-year-olds at a birthday party. And now he's seeing us in Times Square selling out BB Kings. And he couldn't believe like the Clark Kent Superman dynamic that we had, which was, this rock band at night and this kids band during the day. So we were kind of naive. We would just, hey, we knew this guy was from William Morris, which was a big, big agency in New York City. And we were hoping that he would get us like another tour or something like that. And he mentioned in passing that he was in the TV division. So we, kind of jokingly said, well, why don't we do a TV show? And he's like, you know what? Write me a little treatment and we'll see what we can do. And sure enough, long story short, but we wrote a little treatment. And, we got picked up. All the networks were bidding on this crazy alternate life that we had.
Incredible. Awesome. So you got into acting because of that or no?
Yeah, we were never actors before. Again, we were musicians our whole lives. And then, once we got this TV show, we couldn't have played scientists. We couldn't have played, astronauts, but we could play musicians. We could play ourselves. Yes. We're all from New York. We're all from Brooklyn. So we kind of just played our own personalities on the show, so it was a very easy sell.
Yeah. And afterwards you released, how many albums do you have with ZO2?
So ZO2 has 4 records, and the TV show Z-Rock had 2 seasons on IFC. You can either still buy the DVDs online somewhere. They're streaming on Amazon Prime. You could also stream them on my YouTube channel, Joey Cassata, on YouTube.
Yeah, I will put down the links at the end of the episode of Joey Cassata.
Awesome.
When did you join Siberian Orchestra? That was very fun for me because I am a drummer and you're a drummer, and to know that you played with legends like I don't know, Al Pitrelli, or who did you play with?
Sure. There? I mean, I played with Al for years.
Yeah,
I love these. So the band ZO2. They were 2 brothers. They were David and Paulie Z. And then I was the drummer, Joey Cassata. And David Z was the touring bass player for the Trans-Siberian Orchestra for about 15 years. He passed away in 2017. There was a car accident, and he passed away, unfortunately. But David got me hooked up with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And, I was playing with them. I was the backup drummer for Jeff Plate and John O'Reilly for almost 15 years, from about 2005 till about, almost 2020. It was only been a couple of years since I haven't been doing it again.
Wait, was David in the Adrenaline Mob? That was the accident?
Yeah, David was the bass player in Adrenaline Mob, and they had the accident, and he unfortunately passed away. It was tragic.
I remember that thing. Rest in peace, sadly. Trans-Siberian for 13 years for you, right?
Yeah, I was just the backup drummer. They have the East Coast and the West Coast.
Yeah.
And they also have a backup band that always is on standby ready to kind of fill in where's needed. So I was in that backup band. I rehearsed with, Petrelli and Caffrey and Joel Hoekstra and all these guys for many, many years. It was a fascinating time.
Oh man, I had Joel Hoekstra on the show. He told me about Trans-Siberian, a lot of great stuff. Also, I had our colleague drummer Joe Franco just
Yes.
before. You know Joe?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I know him. Obviously, the album is right behind you too. That "Love Is for Suckers" is one of my favorite records.
Yeah. It's a great album. He was telling me about the programming thing when he programmed the album, because it's it's not the real drums there.
Yes, that's crazy, right?
Yeah. And he told me that he programmed the demos for them, and Bo Hill, the producer, said, "Hey, it's finished. It's a great drums, it's not a demo. It sounds great, so we go with that,
Wow, I actually didn't know that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, because you're a huge Twisted fan, and you told me you jammed with Dee and Mark, and when did that happen? When did you got to know them and play with them?
So they've been friends of ours for years. Like I said, ZO2 did many shows with Twisted back in the day. Dee was a guest star on Z-Rock many times. JJ was a guest star on the show a couple of times. But Dee had a really prominent role. If you go back and watch Z-Rock, if you're a Twisted Sister fan, the few episodes with Dee in it are classic. So we just became really, really good friends over the years. Dee would come up and jam with us all the time when we did big shows in New York. And then when David Z passed away, our bass player, what we were planning on doing, ZO2, we were planning on stopping altogether. We weren't going to continue as a band. And then, we had this idea we were going to get guest bass players to play a show with us and just do a song here and a song there. And we reached out to Mark Mendoza to do a song with us. And Mark actually volunteered and asked if he could do the whole show with us. So, Mark became a member of ZO2 for a little while. It didn't, we couldn't do it full time just because his schedule and our schedule, and Paulie is out in LA now. But Mark did a couple big shows with us, full-time ZO2 member. He was incredible. What an honor that was for us.
I had, on the show, I also had Russell Pizzuto. You know Russ?
Of course, sure.
I had Russ on the show, and he told me about filling in for Mark, and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's a small world, where everyone's connected.
Yeah, man, especially because you're all from New York and you know each other there,
Right.
Yeah. I'm just a fan from Europe, and I met Dee and all of Twisted for a few times when they were here, close to these neighborhood countries. And
right.
But you're a huge Kiss fan, and I wanted to ask you about that. You're a Kiss fan from 5 years old. So, how did you get the idea on writing a book? As I saw you write a book with the podcast guys, Zeus and Tom, I think.
Correct.
I listened to some of their podcasts before. I follow that podcast. But how did you get the idea? You and them to write a book? This
is the book right here. It's called Raise Your Glasses. It's a celebration of 50 years of Kiss songs by celebrities, musicians, and fans. So, we had this idea that we're all obviously big Kiss fans. They have the Kiss podcast. I'm a big Kiss fan. And, between us, we know so many musicians, actors, celebrities, comedians that are so influenced by Kiss. And sometimes they don't have the outlet to talk about it. Like I always talk about it on all my podcasts. Tom and Zeus will talk about it on their podcast, Shout It Out Loudcast. But a lot of these celebrities who are not, I don't want to call them closet Kiss fans, but they don't have the outlet to really engage and talk about their favorite band, Kiss. And I'm talking about, like, we have a lot of guys from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Chris is in here. Jeff Plate is in here. Joel is in here. We have a lot. What we basically did was we went and talked to all celebrities who are influenced by Kiss. And we made them review literally every song in the Kiss catalog. So, you have right? Every single song in the Kiss catalog in chronological order, reviewed by, Eddie Trunk and Desmond Child and Chris Jericho and, Jesus, who else is in this
Mike
book?
Portnoy, probably.
Mike Portnoy's in this book, and Carmine Appice, and Zach Throne, and Todd Kearns, and got anyone who's a old school Kiss fan is in this book reviewing all of the Kiss songs. You can get it on. It's available on Amazon right now. Check it out. It was the #1 book in the country for a couple weeks. It's just a fun read.
I'm gonna buy it for sure. But it came out recently, right?
Yeah, it only came out about a month and a half ago. Like I said, it's been doing incredibly well, especially with all the names we got involved in it. It's fun. You know, we call it, it's almost like a companion piece to the record. So we've been hearing a lot of stories, like people buy the book and they're starting to read it. Like, it's not a storybook. It's a book with reviews of every song. So they'll start to read and they'll be up to a song that they don't remember that well. And they're like, oh, you know what? I can't believe what Charlie Benante says about Got to Choose on Hotter Than Hell. I got to go listen to that song again. So it's a great book to have your Kiss songs handy and kind of reference the Kiss songs as you're reading the book.
Yeah, it's like a chronological time, time machine that takes you back. Yeah. What's your favorite song and album from Kiss?
Whew. I mean, it always varies. So I'm a big 80s Kiss fan, growing up primarily in the 80s. Don't get me wrong, I love 70s Kiss. Were the biggest in the world.
Yeah.
But 80s Kiss was my Kiss. 80s Kiss was, Eric Carr, the unmasked years, the years where they didn't have the makeup, is when I was most influenced by them. So, I love albums like Asylum and Crazy Nights and those pop metal albums I really, really gravitated towards.
Yeah, that's Carr had a very different technique in drumming. Very, like weird technique, but very good with the double bass and very effective way of drumming.
Just so different than Peter Criss. That was the Bruce Kulick years as well, and over the years I got to jam with Bruce a lot. Bruce and I and Todd Kearns and Joe McGinnis, we just recreated all of Alive 3 last year in a concert, and it was just such an honor to play with Bruce and try to recreate some of those classic Kiss songs with him.
You did that on the Monsters of Rock? You were with them there or not?
Not on Monsters of Rock. We did it at Kiss Cancer Goodbye last year. Bruce, Todd Kearns, I, and Joe McGinnis. We did the full Alive 3 album cover to cover.
Man, Todd sings incredible, the Paul Stanley songs.
Oh my God, off the charts. Yeah, again, all the videos on my YouTube channel, I have the whole concert. We're doing Alive 3, so you got all those classic Kiss songs, but you also have songs like I Still Love You, which Todd belts out, and you got songs like Lick It Up and Heaven's on Fire, and Jesus, what else is on there? I Just Wanna, Unholy, stuff like that you don't get to hear that much.
Yeah. What about the 70s Kiss? Which album do you like the most?
So the second 3 in the set, like I'm Alive 2 is probably my favorite record of all time.
Yeah, okay.
I like those second 3. So Love Gun is probably my go-to record.
Yeah, Love Gun.
How about you?
I'm gonna tell you this. It's not the best, but it's the most listened to. Dress to Kill is the one that I always put on first. I don't know why. It's not that the songs are better, but it's the one that it's the most listened to for my ears. I don't know why.
I think Dress to Kill is a very underrated record. People don't talk about it as much as they should. There's some great songs on there that don't get a lot of love.
Yeah. I think it's the whole record is good. When you song by song, but the first one is the debut album is probably that one and Dress to Kill to me now in this phase are the best. But it can vary, as you said. Also, for example, in my car now I have Love Gun, and I listen to that one all the time. It's incredible album. There is some I see conversations about the production of the albums. The sound of the albums. If that was supposed to be like this or like that, like Shoutcast now put on a poll if on a story a poll if. It's a good production on the Hotter Than Hell album or no, It's what do you think about that, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of the Hotter Than Hell production, that's for sure. I think the first two records, especially, the production really suffers. Dressed to Kill, the production I think is really crisp. I really like that production, especially Peter's drum sound started to come together at that point. But if you listen to Peter's drums on Hotter Than Hell, God, you can almost not even hear them. It bothers me a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but maybe they were trying to do something different. I think maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, that's wishful thinking. I think. Unfortunately, I think Wise and Kerner, who were the producers back then, didn't know how to capture Kiss's sound, and it wasn't until Dress to Kill and then obviously Kiss Alive where they said, okay, no, this is what Kiss is supposed to sound like.
Yeah, but Kiss Alive, but Kiss Alive is also a little bit recorded in
right.
that we know afterwards.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know which songs and how much of it, but we all know that it was a little bit, something.
Yeah, I think it's just fixes. Obviously, live recordings. You don't want to just put out mistakes. I think mostly Peter's drums are live, and then you're gonna have Paul doing some overdubs if he's flat a little here and there. You'll probably have Ace doing some solos over and here and there just to fix it, to make it. The last thing you want to do is buy a live record and have to hear the same mistake for 40 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But probably Peter is very underrated, by the way. I think because a lot of people put him down like he's less like a simple, but he's not. He has the groove. He has he has that hit, that nerve in the hand that not a lot of them have. Same as Ringo Starr.
I couldn't agree more. I think Peter has a certain rock and roll style. He has that shuffle that he uses all the time. Peter's style, I just had this kind of argument with friends of mine recently that a great drummer to me is not always the most technical, the person who has the most chops, who can do the most. To me, something that shows a great drummer, and it kind of ties back to the Joe Franco thing that you said.
Yeah.
If you can recreate drums or drummers' parts via a drum machine, to me, it doesn't have the soul that a real drummer needs.
Yeah.
To me, you can't recreate Peter's drum parts via a drum machine. You cannot recreate Ringo's parts. You can't recreate John Bonham's parts. But you know what? I think you could recreate Neil Peart's parts. Yeah. I think you could recreate Mike Portnoy's parts. Not that they're better or worse as drummers. It's a different style of drumming. My opinion, those feel-oriented drummers that have this swagger that you can't really kind of decipher or recreate, that's an amazing drummer to me. Guys who are so precision-oriented, that's a style that I never got into.
Yeah, the progressive style,
Yeah.
I'm on your side also because you have time and everything is according to the time, and they can recreate it with the hits and with samples and with triggers and everything. But if you play, even if you go faster and slower somewhere, that is the soul of the song. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Everything there's a thing now, I'm a session drummer too. You can quantize everything. And all that means is on Pro Tools or Logic, whatever you're using in today's recording world, a drummer's drums, what happens is most producers will just go like this. They'll click a button and it'll hit quantize. And all that will do is line up the drums perfectly to a grid.
Yeah.
Now, yes, they sound perfect, but sometimes music is not supposed to be perfect. If you listen to the old Zeppelin records and you listen to the Stones or the old Kiss records or Aerosmith, there's a swagger that the band has that's going in and out of the time that creates that band's sound.
Yeah, that was also what I loved about AJ Pero. He was like that,
What an underrated drummer.
Yeah, man. He was thunder. Yeah, he had a lot of. If you could see live, he could fasten up the songs, but it was natural,
Absolutely. And even listen to any of those records. Listen to Can't Stop Rock and Roll or Stay Hungry. Try to recreate AJ's parts perfectly. You can't.
You can.
Not because they're so technically hard, but it's because AJ plays them in a way that only AJ plays.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's even on Come Out and Play, he overplays somewhere,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, AJ overplayed a lot. but he overplayed in a way that AJ could overplay it. It fit
Yeah.
Twisted Sister's sound.
Yeah, that's true. I also love Mike Portnoy. When he played in Twisted after AJ,
Sure.
he played it very perfect. You could feel that it's not AJ.
Listen, don't get me wrong. I love Portnoy. He's a good friend of mine. He is one of the most talented drummers in the world. I could never do most of the stuff. Never could do most of the stuff that he could do. It's just, it's a feel thing. And Mike does that stuff too, because I've seen him in his Zeppelin band. I've seen him in his Who band. He has that swagger too. But Mike is just more of a progressive drummer. He likes that precision, progressive style. And that's incredible to be able to do that.
Of course, man. Yeah. It was very weird because he was in Adrenaline Bomb and then AJ came into it, That's
it's again, like I said, it's all we're all tied together in that, this once, it's so funny. Like everyone always asks, how did you break into this? How did you get that gig? How did you get that gig? Like I just recorded Ace Frehley's new record too. I did drums on most of that record. And, so many people are like, well, how did you get that gig? How did you get that? It's, you don't go for gigs. Gigs, once you're in a circle and you prove your worth and you prove your reliability and your dedication and your, how you can play, work comes to you. So, I've been playing with Steve Brown for many years, good friend of mine. We play with Eric Martin in solo projects, and we've become really good friends over the years. He knows I'm super reliable. He knows I'm gonna give him stuff that he needs quickly, and he just called me one day, and it just falls into your lap after a while when you become a reliable musician in a certain circuit.
Yeah. That's what the gigs come to you. That's what you want to say. That's what I wanted to ask you. You, as a huge Kiss fan, as a kid, how was playing with Ace Frehley, on the album?
Again, it's one of those life-pinching moments. It's like, I remember tracking the songs, and then Ace came in, and he's like, "Oh, this sounds great." I'm pinching myself. I'm like, I couldn't tell the 5-year-old Joey who saw Kiss at Madison Square Garden that one day, you're going to be playing on Ace's solo record. It just wouldn't sound real. And like I said, people say, "Well, how did you get there?" You get there through years and years and decades of hard work and struggle and, just trucking forward, not giving up. You don't give up on your dream. You don't give up on what you want to do. You just keep pushing forward. And like I said, prove how good you are, prove that you're reliable, and, you become peers with your idols.
Yes, that's amazing. That's the most I got into my career was opening for Judas Priest and Whitesnake.
Awesome.
That was like with my band. That was
dude. Don't say just anything. Those are great accomplishments. Are you kidding?
Man, yeah. but okay, music for me is a hobby because I work something else. I have a band for almost 25 years also, but we don't play that regularly. We release.
Right. Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
No, sometimes life gets in the way too. Don't get me wrong. I know. But just for me, early as an early kid, as an early drummer at an early age, I knew this is what I do. Can't do anything else. I don't, obviously I do other side projects. I write books and I act and all that stuff, but I can't do a regular job. It's just not in me. I'm a musician. I'm creative. I have to keep trucking forward for good or bad.
Yeah. I see the Frehley record behind you.
Yeah, right.
Right. 10,000 volts. I love the record from beginning to the end, and maybe Cosmic Heart is my favorite song there.
I did the drums for Cosmic Heart. What a fantastic song. So funny story behind that. So again, I was tracking a lot of the demos with Ace. I didn't know if I was going to make the record. I didn't know if I had no idea. I was just, Steve called me, "Hey, we got a new idea. Can you lay some tracks down for me?" Of course I can. So one of the times I was heading up to the studio with them to track, on the way there, Steve kind of texted me and said, "Hey, I kind of have this other idea. Take a quick listen to this on the way up and let me know, we want to track something to this as well today." So I think I was going up to track Life is a Stranger and back into my arms again. I was going to track those two, and he sent me this riff, which turned out to be Cosmic Heart. And I remember listening to it in the car, and I just kind of heard this she feel, like with the toms, like in the middle of she. And that's kind of where that Cosmic Heart tom part came about. And I kind of wrote it in my head on the way to the studio, sat down, tried it, and it worked.
It's incredible. That's it. I mean, you track the demos, right? But afterwards, you were on most of the songs.
Yeah. So the demos, it's funny. Like in today's world, there are no demos. Like I was tracking these songs, and it turned out to be those were the keepers. Those were the tracks. So there were no demos. It wasn't, hey, we're recording this for the record, or this is a demo. Hey, this is an idea. Can you lay tracks down for me? Yeah. I didn't know if they were demos or they were just workarounds or they were real tracks. We're just laying down tracks, and it turned out that everything I laid down, pretty much everything made the record. I had recorded drums for God, what's the name of the song again? Jesus, Anton's song on the record. I did drum tracks for that as well.
Oh yeah, but Anton played on one song, right?
Anton played on two songs.
Oh, two songs, okay.
Anton played on 10,000 Volts and let me just see quick. And Fighting for Life.
Okay.
And I did the original track for Fighting for Life, but once Ace got Anton, of course, listen, Anton is one of the most incredible drummers ever. He had Anton it up a little bit, and it became, one of my favorite tracks on the record.
Awesome. You can when we go back to Kiss Dynasty, you can tell it's another drummer than Peter Criss. I mean, it's very straight. It's very like all the time precision and all different hit. You can tell.
Oh, I mean, even as a kid, when I was a kid, I knew that wasn't Peter. I could tell the difference, the drum tones, the way they're played. I could, a good drummer anyway, and they're both incredible drummers, Peter and Anton.
Yes.
Good drummers, you should be able to tell a drummer from a different drummer. Just like I could tell if Eddie Van Halen's playing, or Randy Rhoads is playing, or Jimi Hendrix is playing, or Jimmy Page. You don't have to know the song. You can hear the guitar player.
Yeah.
Same thing with a good drummer. Alex Van Halen, 2 seconds into a drum beat, I know it's Alex Van Halen.
Yeah. Also the sounds of the drums is Alex Van Halen has a very different sound from everyone else,
Very distinct snare sound, which is, one of my favorite snare sounds of all time, especially Diver Down, I think, is where that was my favorite Van Halen drum sound, and maybe one of my favorite drum sounds ever.
Yeah.
Listen to like little guitars on there, or anything, any of those songs. Incredible.
It is also you can in the 80s Kiss you have very different production from album to album. Creatures of the Night production of the drums is very different from the later, from Crazy Nights or from Asylum. Drum wise,
Sure. Again, the 80s, Creatures was right before that hair metal wave, right?
Yeah.
So the big production that, Mutt Lange, Bob Rock production hadn't really taken over yet. And Creatures of the Night was this kind of experimental album for Kiss. They came off The Elder, which was a flop, and they wanted to get heavier. And, Michael James Jackson was the producer for Creatures of the Night, and they experimented with this wild drum sound. And it's really never been duplicated since on any record out there, whether it was Kiss or any band. It's one of the heaviest drum sounds you'll ever hear.
Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite 80s Kiss record, maybe. But it's different from the no makeup era, yeah.
Yeah, totally different, especially production-wise. Like I said, later on, everything's more polished.
Yeah. Also, I can hear a little bit of John Bonham and Led Zeppelin there,
And I think, I'm not saying they went for that sound, but it's a very open, airy sound, like, When the Levee Breaks. It has that giant bass drum, big tom sound. And, with Eric Carr's massive kit, it's just, it fits so well for that record.
Well, I Still Love You is pretty Zeppelin-esque song,
Absolutely. Keep Me Coming. All the, the riffs on that record. It's Zeppelin with, a heavy vibe.
Heavier vibe. Yeah. That's right. after this talks about music, how did you get into Broadway acting and Broadway production? How
Yeah,
did you
so
get there?
obviously, I did Z-Rock. I did ZO2. Once Z-Rock left the air, I just started a family. This is mid 2010s, 2017, 15, 16, 17. I had just started a family, 2 kids. Didn't really want to tour anymore, at least for a little while. I wanted to take a break. I wanted to be home with my family, take care of them, see them grow up, try to help raise my family. And, I didn't want to miss a minute of my kids' childhood. So I said, I can't be a touring musician anymore, but I am a musician. So what can I do? So, I obviously Broadway was my next step. I wanted to be, a Broadway player. That way I could travel into Manhattan every night, play a show, have my drums set up for me, no setup, nothing involved, come right back home, sleep in my bed and do it all over again. It's the best of both worlds. You're a working musician. You get to play sold out shows every night, but then you get to come home and sleep in your own bed and kind of, be dad as well. So it was the perfect cross pollination for me where, Broadway again, didn't fall into my lap. What happened was one of the other backup members of Siberian Orchestra gave me a call one day that he was working on this new Broadway show called The Great Comet of 1812, starring Josh Groban. And
legendary singer.
Yeah, legend, big time Grammy award-winning singer. He was the star of the show, and this keyboard player of mine, pianist, asked me, "Hey, any interest in doing this?" I said, "I'm your man." So I went down, kind of read the charts on the spot, got the gig, and did that show for over 5 years on Broadway. It was incredible.
Yeah, I read that you had like 500 shows there.
Yeah, we did almost 600 performances of that before it closed. Josh was probably part of 300 of those. So playing with, guys like Josh Groban every night for 300 straight shows, it was just, it was a dream come true. It was an honor.
Wow, man. It's incredible. Maybe it was the time when Dee had the Broadway show, or no?
I think it was right. It was a little after that. When was Dee and Sebastian, when were they all on Broadway?
Yeah. Dee, Sebastian, and maybe Paul Stanley had a Broadway show, right?
Well, Paul was up in Toronto, which I went to see. That was in the late 90s, like 98, 99, right after Psycho Circus, maybe even 2000. Paul did Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, Phantom of the Opera, and Sebastian was Jekyll and Hyde, or was Jesus Christ Superstar, something like that.
No, I think Jekyll and Hyde. I think he did for a while. Yep, and Dee, all those. So again, that Broadway life, it's a great alternative to, like I said, you're getting older, family, or your body's breaking down, whatever it is. You don't have that wherewithal to be on the road 24/7 anymore. It's just a great alternative to, you still get that rush every night because you're playing this big show. It's different. Don't get me wrong. It's a completely different vibe. I'm on book every night. There's no improv. There's no rock and roll, but it's still, you're still playing live music every night. And it's a thrill.
Yeah. It's a rush, and it's different kind of rush. Yeah.
And the good thing about my Broadway show, a lot of Broadway musicians are in a pit, which means under the stage.
Yeah.
So the Great Comet, the band was in the audience. Like I had my own box. If you ever seen old school theater, there's like those box seats like towards the balcony.
Yeah.
One of those boxes was completely closed off for the drummer. Yeah. So I lived in that spot, and it was my home. For, like I said, for 5 years, I just lived in that spot. I had audience members literally sitting 3 feet from me.
That's amazing. That's great. About you're coming to an end of the interview. Tell me your short and maybe long terms, future plans. What are you planning?
Yeah, so again, always a lot of stuff in the works. I still am an actor. I love doing acting. I love writing my own shows. I'm a big wrestling fan, so I've been working on a show called Wrestling with Joey Licious for quite a few years now. It involves me and all the 80s wrestlers. We got Mick Foley, and before he passed, Roddy Piper and the Iron Sheik, and Jake the Snake Roberts and Hulk Hogan, and all these guys involved with the show. and it's basically about me as a wannabe wrestler that never made it into wrestling, and how these guys helped me along to maybe become a wrestler one day. So, I'm always doing stuff like that. I write, like I said, I write books.
Yes.
Still do a lot of playing. I'm doing another big Kiss event coming up, another Kiss Cancer Goodbye at the end, in the middle of December, actually December 6th through the 8th. Playing again with Todd Kearns and Zach Throne and those guys. We're recreating the full Elder album and the full Creatures of the Night album. So it's an undertaking.
You're going to play them full?
Full, the whole record. We'll be doing the full Elder and the full Creatures of the Night record. Yeah.
Wow, love that, man. It's
gonna be fun.
You have to record that professionally. Maybe.
Yeah, I think they're gonna pro shoot everything. Like I said, it takes place in Sarasota, Florida, December 6th through the 8th. Tickets are on sale now. Check out creaturesfest.com or check out any of my social media pages.
Yeah.
Joey Cassata. You can see all the info. It's gonna be one hell of an event. Bruce is going to be there doing a lot of Alive 2 stuff. Chris Jericho is going to be there with his Kiss tribute band Quarantine. So
great.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh man, I'm going to put all the links down there. And thank you very much. It was a huge honor to have you because of drumming and of Twisted and of Kiss and everything, Good luck with the book and with everything you do, man.
Dude, thanks so much for having me. Pleasure. I can't believe we got the Twisted rocking today. What a great time.
Sister, SMF for life, man.
Absolutely.
See you, man. Thank you.
Later, brother.